Well, there they are. What's up, guys? Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, lot to talk about tonight. Lot to talk about. You guys know, obviously, that I have been interested in the Ruby Frankie case for a while, and there's a big reason for it. We're gonna get into that tonight. There's also a lot of similarities between these two, as we've spoken about, but I really want to dive in a little bit more. The next thing I'm going to do, just so give myself context, is I'm going to watch their documentary that came out on Disney Plus. I have not seen it. I'm sure that'd be an amazing thing to watch to get the context because I'm a context person. It matters to me. Um, when I tell you that this was where'd it go? What's up, guys? It's so good to see you, man. Hold on, let me. Someone said, I'll find it again. I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, crazy, man. So I saw the video today. Um, I saw that Lori was sent back to Idaho. When I tell you, honest to God, that I had no idea that she was going back to Idaho. The timing of yesterday was not a random coincidence. I felt that yesterday was the time to post that video. And I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain it. So that once I saw her leave today and I saw her, the same things, the smiling, the whatever, it actually made me think more about what we're talking about here and what we're talking about between Ruby and Lori. And I titled this video, Why It Affects Me. Why does Ruby Frankie's case affect me and why should it? And that maybe that's a bold claim because obviously I don't know Ruby Frankie. It affects me because this is not a one off. This is not something that has just happened one time. Um, to see the footage of her and her family and their vlogs, to watch them talk as if everything is happy go lucky, perfect family, and then know that they're going through. I want to read you some quotes real quick. Okay. And these are from her journal. And I just want to give you guys more context of what hit me because this is inside their minds. So Ruby had journal entries and it said, sleep outside, shave her head, doused with water, head in toilet, needs to be painful, blood on his face, scream and scream. Now, these are taken out of context, but these are actual excerpts from her journal. Another one says, I told the boy he emulates a snake. The body must engage in good work, and the good works need to be painful. I have the power of God, and he must obey. Okay. And then when I poke his back to get into the sun, he doesn't even flinch. I will not rest. I will not stop. I will not leave. I will fight him until the day you die. And then she explicitly wrote, and this is what I'm trying to hammer in on some of our cultural things that we're going to get into on this video. She explicitly wrote, I will not feed a demon, using starvation as a tool of purification and exorcism. So I'm giving you guys more context that don't know. Now, let's go back to what we learned with Lori. These women, as we saw today, Lori's smiling as she's leaving, as if nothing's happening, as if this is her going to the store with her family and her friends. They are smiling, I'm sure, polite to everyone else. I'm sure when you met them, when you met Ruby, probably the same thing. People like her. Obviously, she had a following on YouTube. People liked her. I cannot see her videos. And so I don't know what she was like on video. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm going to be watching their documentary. I want to compare them deeper on this level. And on top of it, I want to understand where the kids are coming from. We have to understand that normal looking in their 40s white female, moms, non-threatening, non-anything. They just don't come off as a threat, right? You would never be able, like if you profiled them, you're not going to be able to see these red flags, especially somebody who's filming and vlogging their family. The real hard part of the comparison here is this is almost the same exact thing when it comes to these beliefs in demons, right? And I've only seen pictures, but this is a safe place to learn, Hillary. This is what we're trying to do. We are we're trying to be very respectful when we speak about different cases. So that way we do not, a lot of the stuff is hard. It's very graphic in this way. Thank you. That's why we talk about this, guys. This is culture, man. This is becoming a thing. Religion is a powerful tool of people's minds. I've always been fascinated in history. And in history, there are so many parallels to so many things that happen again. Why? It's the psychology of human beings. Human beings have this weird thing about repeating cycles, and certain people think and believe the same way like others. When I saw Ruby Franke, I was shocked by the fact that she looks similar to Lori. I don't know how to explain it. I go, why do you guys look alike? How? I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, of all the people, the billions of people on this planet, you two look alike. You have the same belief system. You grew up in the same exact kind of culture. You're almost the same age. And you have the same exact out. They're so not extroverted. They're extroverts, right? People love them. People are watching them. People were enjoying them. And at the end of the day, that's what's so crazy is that they're so similar. And the more I dig, the more I go, wow, how does this even happen? I think they look alike. I don't know if you guys see it. I see it. And it could be the certain looks that they give, something in their eyes. I don't know how to explain it. Lori and Ruby Franke do look a lot. Yeah. Yeah, and the same personalities. What we're not noticing here is that I have heard small doses of what Chad Franke has been through. And again, I want to say this publicly. I really respect Chad Franke and Sherry for sharing pieces of their stories. I think it's so important when you get away from something like this and you're able to share your stories. I believe that they should. I actually bought Sherry's book and I support them. I hope they know that. I've never been able to fully tell them that, but I support Sherry. I support Chad, because how do you live after this, man? How do the things that we have to deal with, and I say we because I understand, they have to deal with something like this hanging on their heads for their life. It's not who they are. This is not who Sherry and Chad Franke are. This case does not reflect them. But your mother does set this thing for the rest of your life. So how do you deal with it? Love you too. What we're here today to talk about, okay, is a lot of what's becoming the mask. The human being putting on the mask, the churchgoer, the good doer, the laugher, the person who's too clean. That is what I'd like to bring this into, okay? The too clean person. We are all flawed. We are all flawed. And we all know it. The reality really is that these two have more than I can ever count similarities. The biggest thing I want to put on right here is the belief that their children were possessed and needing exorcism. Now, I've touched on this a lot. You guys know that because of my family. And this is why this hits home. This whole video exists because this hits my soul. I can't believe this happened to someone else. You would not hope that this is one-off, But as for the sake of everybody else who's ever lived, yes, you would hope that this was a one-time thing. What you experienced with the Lori Vallow is one time. You never want to see this again. You never want to see this ever be repeated. So that's why it should be a one-off. But this is what I can't get past. I can't. These are people who obviously, and I'm going to speak on something that I do not know for a fact. I'm going to speculate. And the more that I look through some Ruby stuff, I'm sure I will see. But this is what I'm going to speculate. Very, very broken women without the purpose, without feeling that they were able to get what they needed in their life, and projected all of it, all of the bad stuff onto their kids. That is how I believe. That is how I believe that Ruby is, just like Lori. You know? TJ, I agree. I've been saying this for a long time. I know. I'm sure you guys have. You know, I just would want to take care of Chad and Sherry in any way I could, even if it's just this video. I don't want Lori and Ruby to have done I am LDS, but I've heard how they have twisted the scriptures. It makes me sick. And that's what we're trying to say. I hope you guys understand. In no way, shape, or form are we here criticizing religions. What we are saying is this happens on a regular basis, right? The Christianity religion, the LDS religion, and the Catholic have all had their people. Okay. I'm sure every other thing has had branches. People take a core belief of something and they twist it and become this, right? And in no way, shape, or form are we saying that this all ties back. What it ties back is to, we talked about this before, they both wanted to read the same exact book. They both read Visions of Glory. Haven't read it. I don't necessarily want to. I don't know what that book has inside of it. I don't know if it's like a magic book that opens up and casts spells, but obviously it's a problem. What's exciting about this new idea, and this is what culture is doing, this is happening all over. People who are very charismatic are able to mislead people into these religions. And let's call it what it is, cults. These small off branches cults. So let's look at the two in duality. They both needed partners. So Ruby has Jody feeding her, and Lori has Chad and a whole other group. I don't know how much more happened with Ruby. I don't know if they had a bigger group, but this is the two core. These two are the core, and they needed pairs. What they needed to do is have a leader and a follower. It sounds like Jody was the leader and Ruby was more of a follower. Chad was the leader and Lori was more a follower. It doesn't mean the followers don't do things. It's their families that they're affecting. Isn't that so interesting? Isn't it interesting that Jody and Chad both affected the other person's kids? How does that happen? Why is it always to not affect you? It's the other person's kids that are demons. Lori and Ruby seem hyper aware of perception. Lori wasn't smiling, trying to interact with Leo's until she had photo ops. Yes, exiting the door of the camera. Yeah, exactly, Kim. Yeah, I saw it. Exactly. Jody was her own fringe LDS spinoff of abuse. Exactly. It's almost like we've talked about this before. They use religion to justify the fact that they want to, and I have to be careful with certain words I start saying, okay? Because YouTube's been on my butt about this. And they've done certain, okay, I'm sorry. To have to think about the words that I have to use in supplement of it. For them to have their desires met, which is to hurt people, they used religion. They used something bigger than themselves to justify what's inside them. Let's zoom out and just talk about the fact that Lori and Ruby both had some rot in their souls. Rot. And that demon thing, man, it's always going to hit me like a brick. Let me tell you why. I'm curious about your thoughts on the Twin Flames cult. I have to do some research on that. I've never heard of that. Maybe I have. Send me an email at askcolbyj@gmail. Askcolbyj@gmail and send me some more stuff if you guys want my opinion. I don't mind covering different things. And we'll get into it. The demon thing is always going to come back to one thing. Okay. Biblically, there's never been ever has there been a sighting or moment in scripture where you can justify a possessed human being. Now, this is coming straight if you believe in Jesus, but demon possession has never, ever been put into a place where someone is possessed past the point of redemption. Okay? That's never happened. You won't find it. Search the Bible up and down. You will never find an example of when Jesus, and this is where this is prevalent, these demons, where does the idea of demons come from anyway, right? There's so much good and evil, bad versus whatever. There's always, this has been going on since the beginning of man, right? But biblically, if you say that you believe in reading about Jesus, you believe in Jesus, that you have the power. One thing I want to touch on is this thing right here. She says, I will not rest. I will not stop. I will not leave. I will fight him until the day you die. And then the other thing is, I have the power of God. He must obey. So this is coming from a place of, oh, okay, God's given me the ability to cast out demons. They believe that their own children have become demons. Now the demons are past the point of being able to be redeemed. And you have to explain to me how both of these women missed that. They treated those children like inhumanely. They separated those children in the same house. That house was giant. It was 10,000 square feet. It was a compound. They were separated from each other. They were bound, abused, neglected. Because of what? Was it the desire of the people in the cult? Was that their desire? Or was this really a belief? Was this demon thing an excuse? So I think a lot of times human beings find excuses to do what they want to do, to justify. Well, I really just want this, so I'm going to say that they're demons so I can just do it because I already have something sick in me. That's what I'm trying to explain here. This whole thing goes back to exactly what I said yesterday about Lori. If you would have dealt with this stuff early on in your life, if you would have been willing to go and work on the demons that you have, you wouldn't be projecting demons on other people, especially children. God does not ever once, ever mention that demons are such a point where they're a problem to where they can't be fixed. And secondly, there's never been a time where God allowed and said a child is demon. That's pop culture. That's Chucky. That's these new movies of the little girl spinning her head around and poltergeist and scary little kids. Kids are innocent, especially in Jesus's eyes. They don't have the development and the understanding. And even if they were demon possessed, there's never been a case in the history of time where there has ever been a case where a demon would stay in a body past the point of godly, by the way, understand the context here, godly exorcism. There's no demon that can stand against God. And that's the thing we talk about all the time. That whole idea of the devil and the angel on your shoulder, that the devil's somehow the opposite or the perfect match, like the Obi-Wan versus Anakin crap, and they fight perfectly. No, God trumps Satan. He trumps him. We bring this up because obviously this is not a one-off. there was another case that I don't want to get too much into that I just stumbled on. And there are actually two of them. And I'm going to bring them up here because they matter. They matter, and this whole thing matters because this is costing kids their lives. If you hear a human being tell you that their children are demon possessed, you need to do something. I don't know what, okay? I don't know how, but you need to understand this is serious. This is serious. This whole idea is serious. There's two other cases. One case was in where Baltimore. I would say the Ravens, okay? That's how I know. That's how I know where people are. In Baltimore, there was a mother. Her husband and her were really close. They struggled. They lived a life of poverty. He passed away. She said she had a dream, and her husband came to her in her dream. And guess what he told her? Her husband told her in her dream that the children are gone and that they are all demon possessed. The mom felt that it was her husband, believed it with all of her heart. In Maryland, there you go. And what do you think she did next? I think she had 4 kids, maybe 3. I know 3. Okay, this was a while ago. This is off the top of my head, but this was during my research. And she took her daughters, unalived her daughter in her room and left her in that room with the door shut, and slowly did it to all the other children. And then stayed in the house with the door locked until there was a welfare check, because they had a welfare check from one of the ladies that was helping them with their government assistance. And she stayed in that house and unalived her whole entire family because she believed that they were demon possessed, because she believed her dream. She believed that it was a vision. She believed it was her husband, and she believed and loved her husband, and therefore she did it. This is not a one-off thing. I thought this was so out of the realm of someone's belief. I never could have believed that someone could believe it. That's my problem. It's too hard to think that somebody believes this is true. It's such a fantasy idea that somebody's possessed past the point of any help. That is not real life. And here it is. Here's this case that rolls out. Wow. And I think it happened in 23. And here's this case that rolls out right here with Ruby. And it's like looking in like a parallel mirror at Lori. And I'm going, how does this happen twice? And what was the cost of this for these kids and this family? What is the cost of this? Right? I heard Sherry say that she watched the Netflix documentary. At least that came out of it. I heard her say it. She said that she watched it and it helped her understand what might be happening. This stuff is not a joke, man. And the thing is, these branches, this religious stuff, it's exactly, you know what? I'm gonna actually get on this too. Some people research stuff and do the exact same thing. They will repeat offend exactly the same way. You know, this affects them forever, right? This affects their family. This affects how they see themselves. And I hope that they learn to get past all of it. Every single one of them. That they know that they're loved and that their value has nothing to do with any of this stuff. This stuff is not why they bring value to the world or not. I just hope they tell their story for them. Their story is theirs and it's important. And I know how all this stuff works with crime, right? It gets taken, and I understand, but a lot of the humanity gets lost sometimes. And I think we forget about how much this affects every single one of those people, and then they're outside of their family. Think about hearing this. Think about hearing that your little nieces and nephews or whoever you are, right, went through this. And I did see something about the sisters. I don't want to get into that stuff, but my point is, like, this affects a lot of people. Crime affects a lot of people. And when you look at Lori and you look at Ruby, I've met women like them almost to the T. And I'm not saying that they're going to go do crazy stuff. What I'm saying is, let me break down what I think makes them susceptible. And again, I'm going to focus more on the Lori side here and just by assumption throw some of the things I've learned about Ruby at least into this. Okay. What makes susceptible people are people who are curious but don't want an easy answer about religious stuff. Okay? It's good to be curious about religious stuff. It's good to ask questions. The problem is you want an easy answer and you want it right in front of you on a plate. And then when someone gives you that, you just take it and you don't think about it. And number two, you don't have a base in Christ. So you don't know him. So there's no flat line here, right? There's no back wall. So it's to say, hey, well, guess what? Jesus never said you could kill kids and demons are forever. If you had that wall of belief and you understood that and that was solidified in you, you would hit that wall when someone says that. That's how you know. That's why there's a line in the sand. The line in the sand is you know where the boundaries are, and it doesn't go past this realm. The problem is the fantasy life and the idea that these, and I don't know what Ruby's belief of like, I don't know what she was like as a person yet. I haven't seen too much about that. I know how obviously how much she hurt people, and I understand that, and those types of the punishments and the over the top punishments and that kind of stuff. But what it is it's hurt people with their wounds mixed with a whole nother level of religion, and you put that together, and then you say a lot of times people understand that the psychological part of someone doing it. Yes, there's a truth to the statement hurt people hurt people. Yes, that's a true statement. It's also a freaking choice though. It doesn't mean that someone's been through trauma and now here they are hurting everybody else. That's not an excuse. That's not the reason why, and that's not okay to say, well, I've been through a lot, so F it. I can do whatever I want. I got to pass because I've been through hell. That's not it. And a lot of times you look back, why was Ruby and Jody, why were they hurting people? Do you think that they were hurt? Might not have been, but they could have been. Where'd they get this example? And why would they specifically want to hurt innocents? Now, that is always going to be the question. Why is it innocence that gets corrupted? Children are innocent. They represent innocence. Why hurt innocents specifically? Why go out of your way to hurt children? What is the goal there? Exactly. Her ridiculous channel had millions of followers. Watch her abuse her children before Jody ever came along. No one stopped it early enough. There you go. I never saw their channel, so I'm just letting you know. That's exactly where it's at. Thank you. I'm just saying it's a choice. It's a choice. Well, what is evil? This is where our community has to start. We need to start asking more questions. The question is why? Evil is a blanket statement. We could say Lori's evil, Ruby's evil, Hitler's evil. All these people are evil. We can go all night about that. We know that. We know that for a fact. Why? Why? Power and control. Exactly. That's one major reason. But power over what? Don't come in here and make these ladies fall more in love with you, brother. You need to chill the frick out. Put your biceps away. If you're really at a ballroom class, now these women are going to fall all over you. Let me ask you a question, Ray, if you're still here. Why do you think criminals do what they do? Let me know. I'll be looking for some chats. I'll tell you my perspective. Lori always fell out of control with herself. She probably had no way to rein herself in. She had no way to stop herself because she had let the years and years and years of chaos build up. Chaos building. She doesn't know how to hold her husband. She doesn't know how to hold on to her life. Everything is chaos. What happens when you probably unalive someone? What do you think that does for you? And I will tell you, only because I know one thing, is watching TV, watching Dexter, and that made me research. So there you go. The only time that Dexter feels anything and he is out of control until the moment he unalives someone in the show. I promise you that this isn't just made up. It's not made up. Exactly. When you can't control something and you've been out of control, what gets you there? Let's see. All right. He didn't go to his ballroom class. He was playing around. This guy, Colby, I think the mental state and upbringing had a lot to do with criminal behavior. Thank you, brother. Exactly. It's exactly what we just talked about. Of course, mental state is very important. We talked about your mental health. That's why I preach on this channel constantly. Your mental health is so important. Your mind does it all. This is all mental. This is all mental, man. Life is mental over almost everything. Yes, of course, it's physical and spiritual. I'm not getting rid of anything, but mentality is huge. I believe that these two, and again, I talked about this on Hidden True Crime just because this came to my mind when I said it. These women are like poisonous dart frogs. And when you go, we have a zoo, the wildlife zoo. I love it. Every time we go, you go over to this little cage in there, lots of animals, and there is these little frogs. They're gorgeous looking, and they're colored like beyond belief. One of them looks like Spider-Man. He's my favorite. He's red and blue, and he's beautiful. But if I touch that frog, what do you think happens? What do you think if I held that frog right here, or I gave him a little Frenchie? A Frenchie? I meant a kiss, not a Frenchie. Damn. Hold on. Hold on. Slow it down. I didn't mean a Frenchie. I meant a kiss, not a Frenchie. Hold on. Whoa. I'm not going to French the freaking poison dart frog, okay? Slow down. Damn. That was out of pocket. That's not what I meant. I lost it for a second. Whoa. Slow it down. I meant a kiss. I meant a peck or something. I don't know why Frenchie came to my mind. All right, slow down. Restart. All right. I've lost it. We're done. That's it. Thanks for the live. Love you guys. Have a great night. Not freaking Frenching a frog. What I said was if you hold it and gave a little peck. Damn. Gave it a peck, man. Gave it a peck. You'd think I'd die. Probably. Man, frick this analogy. We're on to the next one. Anyway, that's going to be hard to recover from for me because I'm going to be thinking about that rest of the night. Here's the thing. My heart breaks for so many reasons in this case. My mind wanders for them. And obviously, I've never had anything that I've ever been able to compare this to. I've never been able to compare my, I guess, case in life to anything other than this one. And that's what hit me. And then I just start asking questions about what was she like as a mom? How are they dealing with this? What led them both to the same exact place? It's the same touching point. You can say what you want. It's the same exact touching point, though. They're ending up at the demon thing. They're ending up using their religion, which is weird. Why not just abandon it? Why take it further? You know? I don't know. How did you end up at the same point? And then why you're reading the same exact book that's a off-brand jack thing for this religion. I'm gonna show you this guy. I'm gonna show you this book. You've seen it probably. I'm just gonna look it up because I'm gonna show it to you. And I gotta get my mind off of Frenching a freaking frog. Here's short form Visions of Glory. Read the full summary. Oh wow. This is interesting. Is it by John Pontus? John, we gotta have a conversation, brother. The hell are you doing over there? All right, here we go. I'm gonna show it to you because frick dis. There you go. John Pontus. Is this it, guys? John Pontus. So here's the deal. This book, for some reason, okay, it is. So it's an extraordinary account of a near-death experience where, beyond the boundaries of physical reality, Spencer recounts profound visions offering insights into eternal natures of souls, the ongoing battle between benevolent and malevolent spiritual forces, and prophetic glimpses of the coming upheavals and the divine judgments preceding the long-awaiting established sign of Christ's millennial reign. The book follows Spencer's transformative spiritual journey from celestial encounters that reoriented his life purpose towards serving God and aiding others to divine preparation that equipped him for a sacred role in the culminating events of the latter days, and ultimately was witnessing the earth's transition into celestial state of glory. So he has a near death. I did not know too much about this book, so give me 1 second. So he has a little vision of he's a near death. The whole thing is this whole idea of what's going to happen next and all about spiritual. I think one of the kids is about to come in here because the doorknob is having a really hard time opening. Hello? Yeah, Ava, you can come in. It's not locked, honey. What do you need, babe? Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. All right. I just hear. Can I please come in? She's so cute. Okay. Okay. So he has a near death. Wow. So this whole thing is he has a near death, and then he's all about benevolent and malevolent spiritual forces. I'm gonna have to read the book or something, or I'm gonna have to read this summary on my own. Is he gonna make me pay? Frick dis. All right, we'll worry about this later. Interesting enough, I make that a big point for this. Interestingly enough, this means that either way, this idea was a big turn on. And I know I use that word, but let's just be adults about it. It doesn't just mean one thing. It obviously got something in their brain going. It's just not a coincidence. I'll tell you that. It's not a coincidence that this book played a part and then they both did what they did. So I'll be careful with that book. Tonight, I wanted to touch on all of this stuff. I want you guys to know that I want the absolute best for the Frankie family, for all of them. And I want them to heal. I pray that they heal. It matters to me. It personally matters to me because it affects me, because it's just too similar. And I feel that my biggest thing I can do in situations where I personally am affected like this is put out the word, right? I'm sure there's other people who have played around in the spiritual realm. I'm pretty sure that this is becoming a normal thing on average for other religions. People are branching and becoming more interested, more spiritually enlightened. And guys, we just have to be really careful with this whole thing. The whole spiritual realm thing, the whole playing around, the new age stuff, you have to be careful with it. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. This is causing people to branch. It's causing people to do things with it's causing people to do things that you could never ever imagine. So I leave you this with this tonight. I love you guys so much. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go watch this documentary and I'm going to tell you my thoughts about it. I'll let you know what it is. I'd watch it with you if it was possible, but it's just not. So we'll go over it. And we got CrimeCon coming up very soon. So we're going to be doing that. So I wanted to make sure that I gave as much time as possible to this Frankie case and make sure that they know that I love them. It might sound weird, but I love them. I care about them. Hopefully, they will be able to know that even just from a distance and make sure that they feel that they have a place to come, that this is a true community that will embrace them and love them, and that this community will become something for them, and they have it. The Ruby Frankie documentary is on Disney Plus. Okay, so I'm gonna watch it and I'll let you know my thoughts. I was curious when I heard they were going to do it to see how they directed and did it compared to the Netflix documentary that I did. And so, what is it called? I'm going to just show it to you guys. It's just easier to do it. I know there's a lot of documentaries, I'm sure, about her. It's called The Devil and the Family on Hulu. The Fall of Ruby Frankie. I will show it to you. It's just easier to, nope, not that. I'm going to show it to you so you have an idea because it's just easier. I know a lot of you are new to this case too. So if you're interested in watching it, my biggest thing is I'm hoping that this was a real documentary done because I really hope that this was with their input. I know that Chad did it. I know that Chad Frankie was in this. And so that's important because hopefully it wasn't like what happened with Netflix with me in the documentary. So I will let you know. And hopefully I'm going to be okay after watching it because I know it's going to be really hard. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. We're going to keep diving into more stuff. Got a lot more for you. So look out for the community tab. I'll be posting there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Love you.